All right. Hey man, I'm Weather from the Summer School Discord, and I'm here to walk through a game of Nami versus, Nami support. So, at the start of every game, I like talking for a little bit about win conditions. Win conditions is something that's really important to kind of get a grasp on, and this lets you know what parts of the map you need to play to, and where your power spikes are, how you're going to close out a game. So, as support, a good example of why you would need to know win conditions is for where you're going to put your wards. Now, if you're playing against a Talon, right? If you're playing against a Talon, Talon's going to be roaming bottom a lot, and he's going to be roaming bottom using his passive to, jump these walls. So traditional warding, if you ward River right here, well, that's fine, but he's going to be jumping these walls. He's going to be coming through like this, right? So this is only going to catch him after he's already here. The best ward you can get to prevent a Talon roam is to have your mid laner ward around here. If your mid laner wards around here, that stops anything he does like this, and in order for him to get a roam off, he then has to walk all the way back here and go through his jungle. And if he goes all the way back there, that should be a really easy call for, oh, that guy's kind of missing. But that's just one example, right? One example of where you would put a ward. But there's also things like objective control. There's also things like who's going to be split pushing and where you're going to be rotating between that you need to know what kind of vision you're going to need. And you're going to need to know what kind of rotations you and your AD carry want to do. So yeah, there's my introduction of why win conditions are kind of important. And now let's look into your team comp. So your team comp is all AD, and you have 2 assassins and 2 AD carries, and then a Nami support. So this game is going to be really challenging if it lasts a long time. The longer this game goes, the more you're going to have difficulty with trying to have someone split successfully. Because the enemy team just has to have one person build some armor and then can go into those lanes and prevent any sort of split pushing. So your team then has to look for team fights, and if you're looking for team fights, you also have other problems. They have better team fights than you, except for maybe Twitch, but they're going to build Ninja Tabis and stuff like that. So they have a really good comp late game compared to yours, just because your team is all AD. But also your team lacks a lot of peel. You have, of course, the Varus ult, and you have 2 of your own abilities. But no one else can peel. So if you're looking at this team, if you fall behind, you have no way of defending objectives. Because you can't force them off of an objective. You can win wallet for one wave, but you're not going to be able to keep that up. You're going to eventually lose a tower. You don't have enough wave clear, you don't have enough utility, you don't have enough crowd control to set up fights to put you back into this game. The only crowd control to put you back into this game is you and Varus. So you have a really difficult time playing into your win condition here. Because your win condition, starters, of course, the obvious, you need to close out early. But you have to play early with a very weak early game jungler, Twitch. Twitch is probably going to get invaded, and that's going to give you a lot of worries, because if the Twitch dies and then you have this baggage of a Shaco who's, going to be one-shotting your carries, you're in a pretty bad spot. The best ways you can respond to this is by having good starting vision of the Shaco. If you get good starting vision of where the Shaco is going to start, you can predict his path. If he starts red buff, right, and you have proper vision of, yes, he's starting here. I'm not saying invade alone. Never invade alone. But get your team to come and get vision of this. So that way he starts here. Have your Twitch start top red and then work his way down to prevent himself from getting invaded. He could also do his traditional level 2 cheese of, a Twitch gank, which is something that would be pretty good for your team, because that would help you get a little bit ahead. And yeah, so anyways, that's a lot of little things that you would be looking into early game, right? Your Twitch, you need to get him a safe start, and then one of the ways you can get him a safe start is by having your lane always in a position where you're able to respond. So you don't want to get pushed in this lane, even though you're against a Shaco, because that'll let the Shaco invade your very weak early game jungler. Alright. Without further ado, let's get into the game. Your specific lane matchup should be pretty easy. Nami has a lot of really good lanes, and Varus has a lot of really good lanes. And you can heal any sort of poke that they get off. So you should very confidently win this lane. I imagine the reason you did not pick Leona is because they had Morgana, and you were like, let's not play into that. But Nami is a very good pick into this sort of a lane. It's just going to be a bit harder late game. So you're relying purely on this early game lane working out. And if your early game lane works out, you're then going to need to capitalize and like rotate top to get that top lane ended, so that way Talon can go and do his assassin thing. Alright. So you guys have some vision. As I mentioned, you don't want to invade this alone, so you're doing the right thing here. You guys didn't push in. Twitch is doing the right thing in starting top to prevent himself from getting invaded. And you guys are still providing vision. This is very good habits. This is very good. You don't need to be there that long, though, because you do have this ward, and you leave at the same time this ward dies. So it probably would have been better for you and your Varus to get into position to maybe cheese over here. You don't have to always stay for a kill when you're cheesing, but if you do come and get damage, free damage in this lane, right, they don't have any way to heal. They don't have fleet footwork. They don't have Nami W. They have no way to heal. So if you get early damage on them, it's going to help a lot. You wouldn't have gotten it this game, though, because they apparently also started... Okay, actually, maybe... No, the Shaco just didn't get a leash. Okay. So a little thing here. I was thinking about it, but the replay has a cheating thing, so I was able to see that he actually did start red. But whenever someone starts down here, right, and you see that they're here early, generally, not this game because they have a Shaco, but generally this means that they started on the other side of the map. Now, since the Rumble's here and the Vlad is here, and you know it's a Shaco, you have no idea where he started. He could have started on red buff, he could have started on blue buff. Okay, so you know you can't track the enemy jungle right now because everyone's in the lane and Shaco did not get a leash. You also did not get early enough vision. So you have to play kind of like a bitch early game. So normally, right, going back into normal stuff. Normally, whenever a jungle does a full clear and looks to do a gank at level 3, he clears and is looking to gank between 3 and 4 minutes. If he doesn't find anything on that side of the map by 4.5 minutes, he typically recalls and is going to the other side of the map. Just because he's already done all of his fucking camps up here and he has no reason to stay. Now, since you don't know where the jungler is, you're banking on seeing him at some point, or you're having to play into he could be anywhere at all times. Right now, you're relying on, okay, at 3 minutes he could gank your lane because Shaco level 3 clear. Or at 4.5 minutes he could be down here because if he just did a full clear towards top and then recalled and went bottom. Okay, so what does that mean? It means, for starters, what you're going to do with your wards. And this ward, I see you put this down here because, or probably was you, to see if the Twitch was going to get invaded. Now, if they were pathing correctly, this ward should not catch the Shaco. Because the Shaco is going to walk through like this. He's going to walk from his red buff, right? If he did his red buff, he's going to walk like this. He would not walk down through lane like this. And if that happens, the Shaco is going to walk around like this. So this ward is a wasted resource even though you're trying to defend with it. You're not predicting where the Shaco should be pathing. And if you're going to be putting a ward here, you might as well have put it in the tri-brush because that's going to give you even earlier knowledge. So this is a wasted resource. Okay, but where should you be warding in this situation, right? It's important to think about that too. If you're trying to track the Shaco level 3, you wouldn't have anything down yet at all. You would be holding on to it for another minute. After a minute, you'd put it down over here in river. Pretty simple. Because you could also aim for tri-brush, but if you're managing your wave correctly, it won't be in the position where you need this. And it probably is too late anyways if it's up here because the Morgana could just flash Q. So you want to hold on to your ward, is what I'm saying. Because this is still going to be on cooldown come 1 minute from now, right? It's going to be on cooldown. which means that you're going to have a window where you're not able to provide a ward, and you saw your AD carry ward this. Well, one of you did. I don't know which one of you it was, but you know that bottom lane doesn't have any wards. That is putting you at a risk for that level 3 if Shaco was to have started top. Another thing here is you're playing a healing lane and a very dominant lane, and you're playing really far back from the get-go. I know you mentioned that like this is a game that you feel like you played pretty well, but this is terrible positioning. I know you show up late, right? But there is no excuse to do this. How far away you are from your carry. So there's a couple of windows that you can look to trade bottom lane. And I talk about these pretty much all my videos because it seems like no one really understands how to trade. But whenever you're like this, right? Morgana can't do anything to this fight either. So this is a 1 versus 1. But if you were a little bit closer, right? If you were at these caster minions, the Lucian has to make a choice. Does he attack the Varus or does he attack you? It's 2 versus 1 just by positioning if you position yourself in the casters. And that's a fight that you're guaranteed to win. Just because level 1, your auto does like the same amount of damage as an AD carry. And you know what? You fucking heal, so you need to be looking for these trades. You should be up in these casters, close enough to your AD carry, so that you both can trade onto whoever wants to trade onto you. And you and the Morgana are both in bad positioning here for assisting this sort of trade. You're also not using your autos at all. You need to be using your autos either to auto the enemy AD carry, right? You have Airy, so use that on cooldown. Auto them. You also need to be autoing, if you're not autoing them, autoing the wave so you can pressure level 2. If you're not trying for level 2, then you are forfeiting it in probably 80% of your lanes. And I know you play Leona, so that's a bit different. That forces you to auto attack to get your gold. You go and you with your relic shield and you hit those minions. But as support that is ranged, you need to be hitting them all the time you can in order to guarantee that level 2. I told you you wanted in 3 minutes to have the wave pushing into you or to be watching out for a gank. But one of the ways you can do that is by pushing in hard enough to have it bounce. At this point, if they get level 2, they could zone you out of an entire wave because it's so close here. I also wouldn't start with my W there. You're going in and you're healing, right? But you don't need to heal here when you could have just done an auto. Wait until he trades damage and see if he does trade damage. If he does trade damage with you, then you have that extra second there where you could have autoed first and then cast W on him. Your auto attacks do as much damage as an AD carry level 1. You need to use them. And instead, you chunk yourself out of this much mana when you could have, after just autoing him, right, gone and healed the Varus. You see how much damage that did? Compare this damage, right? So, of course, positioning, like what we said earlier. So that did 70 damage, right? And now watch Varus. That did 50 damage. That's really comparable at level 1. And the trade-off is you could have healed all of Morgana's poke with your W on Varus, all of it, and still done 50 damage to Lucian. You would have won that trade, but instead you almost went even. You need to make sure whenever you're going in and you're poking, you're using your auto attacks. Your positioning here is also bad. You're stepping too far away again from your AD carry. Because he's way over here and the way the minions are, the Lucian is in prime position to go in on the Varus. Especially with how close level 2 is here. See how they got in that extra auto attack and you couldn't retaliate? You see how you were walking over to? Look at exactly what happens here. This positioning, right? You see he's going, so you start walking to him, but he gets that auto attack and he walks away. And he's able to do that because you position yourself too far away from your AD carry. And then that forces Varus back into the puddle, which makes him take even more damage. Your positioning is really important in these lanes. So far, just with your laning phase, yeah, you need to work on, for starters, your auto attacks, and you need to work on your positioning. You need to work on your abilities, because, as I mentioned with your W, you could have used that on your Varus. And that extra bit of health could have made the Varus more able to retaliate. This ward is also not going to be able to see anything, or shouldn't see anything. Yeah. Varus would not have had to have healed there if you had used your heal on him earlier. That's what you want to do. Take a sec to just look at that too. That's good. Those are auto attacks you want to do. And then here too. I saw that you did more. Your positioning was a little bit bad there because you got hit by the Q, but that's kind of just a minor mechanical thing. You see the Shaco up here, and this is what I was talking about earlier with you need to be in a position where you can help this, right? And you see how your ward did not catch him, right? Your ward didn't catch him. And Shaco's over here, right? How did Shaco get over there? Because he invaded this. You're not predicting how they're going to invade. You're not predicting this. And an extension of that, right, is you're not managing your wave in a way that you'd be able to come over and help this. And the reason you're not managing the wave is because you're not auto-attacking the wave. You were not auto-attacking the wave, and you were not using your heal in a way that created lane control. You forfeited this lane control, let yourself get pushed into tower, and blue heal from your AD carry, and are letting your jungle get invaded, all because you weren't auto-attacking. Literally auto-attacking and positioning, that's super minor thing. And if you had a ward over here, sure, you would have known that the Twitch was going to get invaded, but that wouldn't have really changed what you were able to do because you were still pushed in. So you need to fix both of these. Predicting better how people are going to invade, the pathing, super important. And you need to manage your wave better, auto attack, manage your abilities better, and position better. And that's entirely expected. You had to flash auto there. That would have been enough. Yeah, 50 health, 20 health. You had to flash auto. And I'm sure you know that, but you need more decisive calls. And the way that this lane is, you're not really in a position to buy any items. Like the Lucian went back and got coal, so you probably have around 300 gold. So this wave, it would probably be best to try and shove it out and have it reset towards you and still base for health. But you shouldn't be in this position to have to base for health. And holy shit, it's painful watching that CS. Okay. So it's an important skill to be able to track the jungle throughout the game, because that, as support, lets you know where you need a ward, right? And when to ward. And when to not go and clear pink wards, etc. It's an important skill set. The last time you saw Shaco, he cleared everything bottom. He cleared your Twitch's camps, he killed your Twitch, and he cleared his red buff because he had red when he was invading, right? All of these things mean Twitch and Shaco are going to be topside. It's the only thing they can be. It's the only place they can be. Because they already cleared the bottom side of the map. What this means is you're safe to do whatever the fuck you want bottom lane for the next minute or so. And since you just blew their heal and their exhaust, I would be calling for my Twitch to come down and gank. Type into call for your team because Twitch is really weak, but a gank can help him. And you have a slow, and Varus has a slow, and just a little bit of extra damage could end this, could get you that kill. That was a much better trade, even though you got the bad end of it. Just your ordering was better. That's honestly much better positioning, too. Alright, so a minute or so is up, and now it's time to pay attention to something else. Again, tracking jungle is incredibly important as every role, but support is the one who has the wards, so it's extra important as support. This camp is spawning soon. You see this icon on the minimap. When this icon shows up, and it's yellow, it means the enemy jungler should be on this side of the map because he's going for that camp soon. Well, Shaco's right here. He is on this side of the map, but he's probably aiming to steal the blue buff first or something like that, setting up some cheese. But what I'm getting at is, since this camp is spawning, and it's a shortcut, it's a cheat code, it lets you know that this side of the map is now dangerous again. And how far back can you predict that this is going to be dangerous? As soon as the icon goes gray, you need to start being a little bit concerned, because that's going to let the jungler say, hey, I want to come down here soon. And in this specific game, since the Twitch is pretty weak, I would not be surprised if the Shaco instead went to try and kill the Twitch at his red buff. But I would be expecting still playing safe since you don't have vision of him. Again, you want to make the safe assumption that he is on your side of the map. And since he's on your side of the map, you want the wave to be pushed into you right now, because Twitch isn't anywhere near this side of the map. He's not looking for blue buff soon. He's going to be on the other side, red buff. Leave it pushed in, because Shaco could be here. So now this is good wave management. So if I was to critique this team fight, if you will, the start of it, let's first pay attention to the start of this. Before anything happens here, you're low mana. You need to be paying attention to that. And the reason you're low mana is, of course, because you've been taking kind of poor trades earlier, and you've been throwing out all of your abilities, and a lot of your bubbles have been hitting, and a lot of them have been missing. But the point is, you've been using a lot of your abilities up until this point, so you need to better manage your resources. Because since you were low here, that might have been why someone died, right? Alright, so now whenever this fight starts, you're giving this away really easily at the start of this. Do you see how they're backing away? Well, they know Twitch is here because of how you just walked at them. You didn't throw out your bubble either, so they had no reason to go on you. You held it. So now they're completely backing off to this obvious gank that you gave away, and now look at positioning again. The way that this starts immediately is already bad. You then use your mana, all of your mana, on your Q and your W, or your E. That's your E. Your W is your heal. And because of that, you have no mana for this. None of this. Now, you also knew that by what I was saying earlier, Shaco should have been on this side of the map. So whenever you are forcing this gank and pressuring this far, you are asking to die. And the one who called for this gank, yeah, sure it was Twitch, but the one who aggressively gave it away and pushed up into it was your positioning. Also your mana management. All you needed was heal. That is probably the trickiest part of playing Nami, managing your mana. And one of the ways you can kind of combat that is by buying really early mana regen. I also, so far at least, disagree with you rushing Boots of Mobility. Boots of Mobility is a roaming item, and I haven't seen you leave lane yet. So maybe you're just getting these for later. But if you're getting these for later, you don't need to complete them now. It's a wasted item. Do not buy Boots of Mobility with the way you've been playing. Do not buy them this early. You could have bought more mana regen. You could have bought something that was going to give you more survivability. But you really don't need this at all. Not right now. Alright. Good. He deserved that. So how did that happen? You really wanted to go up and W them, but you were not watching the wave. Again, a positioning thing. You don't need to step up into this. There's no reason to look for that kill. You got to make sure whenever Twitch goes in for those ganks, you give him your slow thing. Put that on him. Pay more attention. Positioning again. You have no lane control with wards either. You need to ward your lane if you're going to be backing up like that, so that way you can at least see whenever they're going to be stepping up. Your positioning is in such a way that you let their carry die again. You standing behind him whenever you could have zoned out with simple auto attacks. Watch. Watch. So no auto attacks. No auto attacks still. He's rooted and you miss your bubble. No auto attacks still. No auto attacks. One auto attack, and then you use your heal for damage. This is a terrible team fight by you. I mean, all of this stuff has to be obvious to you. You see that you're not auto attacking, and your autos would have done probably 250 damage there. You also use your W for damage, and you let your carry die. You also miss your Q on a rooted target. And you position in a way that lets the Lucian walk back in whenever you're full health. Lucian healed because he has red buff and he also got a kill, right? If you had been doing 250 damage to him and then you W'd him because it bounced off while healing your carry, Lucian would definitely have died here. You also have Ignite. That was... You have to see that as a terrible fight. And the truth of what should have happened there was you needed a ward in this brush right away. You, as a team fight should have been playing to their vision and going into this brush. You should have also been using your auto attacks. You should have used your W to heal. You should have been focusing your crowd control on the Lucian, not the Morgana. And you should have ignited. There's also no reason to be walking into that. If you're paying attention to the map, and you see this, oh, you've already walked in. Okay, so you were trying to bait that before we saw the Shaco. I still wouldn't have looked for that. The only point of kills in League of Legends is to give you an uncontested objective. It doesn't have to be right now, it could be later because you get gold. But what is the point of getting a kill in the next fight, right? You get more money, sure. When does that cycle end, getting more money? When does that end? The only point of kills is to get you an objective uncontested. If you had gotten these kills, you would have given up Dragon. Because Shaco would have been able to do that by himself. Right? If you had gotten these kills, you would have lost top turret. Because there was no win in trying to stay for these kills and putting in all of those resources for those kills. It was purely for kills because the objective you were going to get here was nothing but kills. You weren't going to push to this tower and take this tower. You weren't going to go to Dragon after that. You were too low. You were going to base. You're going to base with 500 extra gold. And you know what could have based you with 500 extra gold? Being able to stay in extra wave because you didn't take a few bad fights. Being able to stay in extra wave because you weren't dead. Judging by your lane control, that's a very bad place to put a pink ward. You're not going to be able to defend it, and it's just going to straight up die as soon as you put it down. Exactly like this. You also put it down rather early, to the point that they can just walk in there while you're still CSing and kill it. Now, why did any of that happen? It's because it's pink ward. Because you try to defend it. Yeah, definitely don't buy Mobies though. It is a very wasted item. That's fine. Okay. So this fight, two things you need to do right away. You need to put a ward down. Because you have wards, and this is a team fight. Whenever there's a team fight, during the team fight, you need to be dropping down wards. Because you're going to lose vision. If the Varus flashes this wall and the Yasuo dies, you have no vision over here. You're not going to walk over there to get vision. You're running away from this. So right away, you have your vision down here. You don't need to worry about this. But you know Lucian's coming over the wall. So your positioning needs to be further this way. But now you've already lost this fight, right? No reason to stay. No reason to flash. Okay, so right, how did this happen? The weird thing about League of Legends is nothing is ever because of one flash, really. Yeah, and Annie got off an amazing ultimate and it won a team fight because of her flash R. Yeah, that's true. But why was everyone there? Right? That's the question you always kind of need to ask because it's never just the flash. Why was everyone there? Once you start understanding why people are where they are and where they want to go, it starts to become a lot easier to set up plays in advance. And the best way to start understanding is to look back at why it happened. So here, we know that, for starters, let's look at the map. Shaco just killed Dragon, right? So you know that there's at least 3 people bottom. And whenever you're counting, you always count the maximum. So there are 3 people bottom. Okay, so now you're looking at your team, and Talon's roaming again. And this is like the 3rd or 4th time he's done this, so it's becoming pretty obvious he's going to do it again whenever he goes missing. And there's a duel going down mid, which looks like the Vlad's going to die. Okay, so that's the whole setup here. And now what happens more than this? They just sweep, so then you know that they're going to probably try and come bottom because the Morgana's just swept for vision. And you're expecting the Shaco to be down here still. And then you spy the Shaco. Okay. Now, let's see. Let's talk about this. This is a decision that your team makes. Your Talon could have walked over and helped with the Shaco. You guys had a good wave in a good spot to go and help with the Shaco too. But there's a good chance the Shaco could have gotten away because it's Shaco. So instead you guys go for this fight. Now you hold your ultimate to the point that you let the Talon engage first. Whenever the Lucian dashes in, the only way he can dodge your ult bubble is with flash. You have a ward in there, so you know he's there, but you still delay. You run away, right? You're running away, and you're holding all of those important crowd control abilities during this gank. And that is why this fails. Because by the time the Talon comes in, you have no deeper vision, so he can't rely on getting to the Lucian, so he turns on the Morgana. And once he dashes to the Morgana, this fight's lost. Because she has Zhonya's. Or stopwatch. So it's because, again, you're not decisive. You're holding all of your abilities. You need to learn better combinations, and you need to learn better order or predictions of when to use them. Because, again, over here, if you're paying attention, you had a perfect opportunity to get the Lucian. He dashes into you. After he dashes, the only way he dodges your ultimate and your bubble is with flash. And he doesn't have flash. So that crowd control is guaranteed to land at this point, which guarantees the Talon the setup he needs. And if you just get this kill, it doesn't fucking matter what happens over here, because you're going to have wave priority. And Vlad's not going to be able to come because he's almost dead. You're in a very good position. All you have to do is make sure you go in at this point. But you're so scared after he does that amount of damage to you that you walk out. And this isn't the first time that you've just walked out. The earlier fight, you also, when I was telling you didn't auto-attack, you were just walking away. And whenever you finally decide to go back in, you still you haven't used your bubble. You only ult because you see the TP. It's a very greedy playstyle. You can't hold your abilities like that. And again, that is why this part of the fight happens. That part of the fight, over here, is why this happens. This is a fight that was going to be lost. Everything has a setup. And you need to think about everything you do like a ward. It has a duration. This ward that you put down lasts for like 3 minutes, right, or something like that. And that's a play you set up 3 minutes in advance to see someone walking through there. This fight, because you lost this fight, because you held your abilities here, the cost of that was also this fight. Everything has like a preliminary phase, a setup phase, and that was down here. You used all your ultimates and you didn't get what you needed to do, and again you didn't use Ignite. And you lost turret, which is really important. Turrets are really important. So what should you be trying to do now? Well, all of your lanes have kind of lost, and you're at a pretty bad spot. What you need to be doing is you need to be getting up wards to catch the Shaco, because the Shaco has been non-stop invading, and it's very likely he's going to keep invading. You're also going to need wards that are going to allow for your Varus to split push a little bit. So you need a ward river here, and you need a ward, probably a pink ward, like here. And that's it. Those are the 2 wards you need, because that's going to protect your entire bot side. 2 wards. And one of them is going to stay for pretty much ever. You don't have to walk back to this. And then what's your next move, right? What's your strategy to get back into this game? Well, you're looking for either to pick someone whenever they're coming in here. Your team is a full assassin comp, so you're really relying on that. But you don't have any crowd control except for you and Varus. So ideally, you're playing around this side of the map where you and Varus can set it up. This game's quickly falling out of hand. Okay, good. But let's talk about why this was a good fight, right? There's a lot of little things that go into fights like this, and it's incredibly obvious whenever you're looking at it. For starters, Shaco's dead, and Lucian is going to show up to this. So you know that this is a 3 versus 4 once the Twitch comes. That's all this fight is. It's a numbers advantage. That's all that it takes for you guys to win this fight. That's all it is. But the reason you were able to do this and win this, do you see your health bars? They're really pretty low all around. It's because Lucian had to go bottom because of this wave you set up earlier. And it's because Shaco wasn't there because you killed him earlier. Everything has a setup. Pay attention to that. How do you get this bottom wave set up? You have safe wards so your carry can push up enough, like to here, to get a slow push. You need those wards. You don't have those wards down. And a lot of the time, you keep all your wards in your inventory or a huge stack of them. You have 4 right now and haven't bought a pink ward since like this one died immediately. Okay, I'm seeing you putting them down. So let's talk about redundancy. All of the words that you just put down show you the exact same thing. All you needed was this one bush and river, and it would have shown you the exact same thing. All you needed was a bush over here, or not a bush, a ward over right in front of the rift, and it would have shown you the exact same. What am I getting at is this ward is a terrible ward because the only point of this is if you're putting a pink ward here or are trying to track someone roaming. Specifically roaming early game. A ward here is also good for if you're trying to siege and you don't want someone to flank you. Yes, those are all good reasons to ward this. But for what you're doing, you're just trying to control Herald. You have minions which are going to show you whenever they walk over this way, and you have a ward over here to show you if they've walked through. So you know if they've walked through, and you know where they're coming from, so why do you need this gap in the middle? It doesn't show you anything new. So what if they fucking sit here for a week? Let them. You've seen that they went in there, and you've seen that they're going to come out. Mission accomplished. That's all you need. You don't need this third ward. Now, why do you need this one, right? Okay, so maybe Shaco goes over the edge and is doing Rift. Well, Rift normally like jumps all over the place, so it's likely that you would still see him with just this. But if you wanted to protect Herald, all you needed was one ward out of here, and you would have seen Shaco doing it. But you end up putting down 3 wards to try and control the same area, and what that means is you essentially have to recall. And if you're afraid that it's dangerous to do it now, then think about what I was telling you earlier. Where's Shaco probably going to be playing to? He's probably on this side of the map because it's gray. And whenever you don't know where someone is because you don't have vision, you have to play off of assumptions. Shaco's down here because his camp's spawning. That's the assumption you have to play off of, which means it would have been safe to take the extra 1 second to walk in front of the Herald. The play I would be setting up after warding this is ideally to have a pink ward for it. Ideally bring Twitch and Varus up here to take top turret or take Herald. Just bring everyone up here because Yasuo is already rotating down and this wave is in a good spot. Play towards top and set up for top. You think this is not setting up for top. This is setting up for catching a rotation. And if you're trying to catch a rotation and you're playing for top, it's also going to get caught here. This is for very aggressive roams. This is for controlling for ganks early. This is a mid lane ward, and it's a very bad one. You want to pink this or you don't want to do anything with it. It's too late in most cases. But look at this wave you could be rotating up to. And look where their team is. Right? How do you know that their team's going to be at base? Do you see the death timer? 7 seconds. Do you see his TP's down? There's no way Talon is going to be contested at this turret. All you need to do is you need to be up there to support him. If you're up here and you're auto-attacking this turret, you probably can get 80% of this turret. Because look at that. If Talon and you were auto-attacking that, don't you think you could have taken this turret? Do you know how much money this is? This is one of the things that you need to do to put yourself back into a game that you're losing. To watch for those control points, watch where people are going to be, predict pathing, and know when you can go for objectives. Know which objectives to go for. After you take this, let's say Twitch walked up here, you can go to Herald. Let's say Shaco was up here like this, you could have then rotated over and killed the Shaco, right? Let's say Shaco tried to stop you and Shaco came over here to try and kill you, right? Then your fucking Talon would have killed him. You've lost out on so much tower gold. Probably like 60% of this gold deficit is from tower gold. And you see how you're walking in here without vision? You're trying to get vision of this now. Remember where you warded earlier? Those were your warding points, and they all end up showing you the same thing to the point that you did not value them anymore and you were going to ward more. If you feel like you need this ward now, understand again, every play has a setup phase, and this was whenever you were setting up for it, right here. Your death, this death of yours, is because of these wards. You put down these 3 wards instead of controlling your jungle. You also haven't bought a pink ward since down here. You need to buy pink wards. So support, you should fucking always have like 1 in your inventory minimum. 2 is a good idea. 1 minimum. And why is that? So let's say you can put it down on Baron and force your team whenever the fuck you want to do Baron because you've just gotten control of it. Keep a pink ward in your inventory and be better. Pay more attention to where you're warding. Pay more attention to the objectives you can get. This is an objective your team has to get right now because you're probably sacrificing Baron for it. If I was the enemy team, I'd just go straight for Baron here. Now your wards are dead on Baron. You need to go fix that. Interesting. So right here, you guys lost out pretty hard if they end up getting this, because you're going to get a turret for a turret. And even though you picked up these 3 kills, right? Turret for a turret, they still ended up getting pretty good trade off of that, considering you guys had an amazing fight. You did win that. Yeah, you did win that. You did get kills. You got more kills. But kills don't matter. They got a tier 2, and you got a tier 1. And you got your first tier 1, which you could have gotten here. And since you guys don't have a tank, it's really hard for you to do Baron this early. Even though you have so much AD, so much damage, you need like the Yasuo there to win wall it, or you're going to have someone like really low. Okay, also, these wards, this type of ward is terrible. Do not put a ward down like this unless you're going for the steal. This ward, you did not have to put down. Look where their team is. Right? It's not dangerous to walk around and get better vision when you can. Walk around and put it right here. Because that way, you see when they're setting up for it. You see when they're walking around this place. See when they're rotating between mid and bottom, or mid and top, rather. This type of ward is only for stealing. This is not a good ward. You really need to fix your warding in almost every way. You should have cast your redemption way sooner, too. You hold, like, all of your abilities. All the time. Alright, you would want Baron here. 100%. This is your best chance. The only condition to Baron right now is not dying to Vlad and getting Vlad out. But then again, you also have these waves to control. Yeah, I guess you have to take care of that, huh? This isn't bad. You guys are doing the right thing. Pushing mid. You're right. Good. That was the right thing to do. So realistically, there's no reason to be on this side of the map right now for your team. This wave is huge and should be drawing pressure anyways, so they should be going to this. Whenever you have a wave set up like this, your play should be to go towards Baron. Baron is an incredibly important objective, and it should never stay on the map this long. You should be looking to have it done by like 25 minutes. And of course, your team's a little bit behind, so you have to have better conditions for it, but your team isn't even playing towards it, and nor is theirs. This is a huge objective you need to be learning to play towards. One of the ways you are able to play towards it is by when wave control is to the point that someone has to come bottom for the enemy team. Now, I understand you guys ended up picking up kills, and sure, that's fine, and sure, you're going to get Dragon off of this, but that doesn't matter. Because the only fucking objectives that matter in this game, is a row of turrets, one inhibitor, and the Nexus. That's the only thing you need to win this game. That's the only thing you need to win. That's it. You don't need dragons to win. You don't need kills to win. You don't need CS to win. You don't need levels to win. Those things do make it easier, but you don't need those to win. Something that is pretty much guaranteed turrets, guaranteed to play into a win condition is Baron. This lets you take those turrets, which lets you win games. And that is, the turrets are the only thing that matter. Now again, kills, dragons, and CS and levels, and that all makes it easier to win the fights. It does. It's great. But after you win the fights, that's how you get the turrets. You kill people so they can't contest you while you're sieging, or you dive them and then they're dead and then you siege, and it's like feels like, you know, that's your reward. But that's the only reason you should have taken the fight if you could have gotten the turret. This is a really important objective your team needs to start playing around. You need to start learning to play around, and you need to shot call for. Start learning to ping for this, because once you start controlling this and calling for Baron, you're going to win a lot more games. It's going to be a major change. Your goals for the start of controlling Baron, right, shot calling for this, is as soon as it fucking spawns, get a pink ward out here. And then look for every excuse to play towards top or mid and ping for it. If you see a wave pushing like this, you know no one has to be there. So whenever you see the wave pushing like this, but the wave's way back here, make sure your Yasuo does not go bottom, go top. That's how you're going to start controlling things like Baron. That's how you're going to start getting these extra turrets. That's not a good strategy. And truthfully, the game should end here, so I'm just not going to play it out all the way. You guys, after you lose this Baron and it's on 4 of them, they should be able to just take your mid inhib and rotate and end the game. There's really not much more to talk about. Even though this game looks like it goes on for another like 15 minutes, I'm not going to bother with that part. But to go into stuff, you need to learn how to auto-attack the wave, auto-attack with your AD carry, auto-attack the enemies, right, throughout the lane. Basically, what I'm saying is learn to use your auto-attack. You need to better, order your abilities. Auto-attack whenever you're fighting the Lucian early, like level 1. If he trades damage onto you, then W him. He's agreed to that extended trade if he auto-attacks you back. If he doesn't auto-attack you back, then you've just got free damage, which is a win-win. You need to better manage your mana, which means you need to hold your abilities more. You were throwing out a lot of bubbles, but a lot of those weren't guaranteed to land. And if you're doing that where you're throwing out just spells all the time and you were pushed under turret, you need to make sure you have enough mana for a gank and mana to heal and mana to sustain, right? So you need to pay attention to that. Whenever you're in a situation like this and you're looking to make a play, I understand that happens and it's a good thing to try and make plays. But set yourself a limit of how much mana you're going to save. Save yourself enough mana for a gank. Save yourself enough mana for a W, a Q, and an E at all points of laning phase. Always have that much mana. So that way you can go in if your jungler comes. Save mana. But since you were throwing out abilities willy-nilly, you weren't you weren't paying attention to that. You don't have that buffer of mana, and you didn't have enough to heal. That's why another person died. You need to make sure your positioning in lane is better in almost every way. You need to stand closer to your carry. You need to stand close so that way you can auto attack, but also close so that way you can heal and have it bounce. You need to make sure you're standing behind your minions. You need to make sure you are paying attention to wave management, right? Because you put down this pink ward that immediately dies. You don't need this pink ward. You're always this far pushed in. A pink ward there is not going to defend you because they're not going to gank you if you're this pushed in. They're going to dive you. You need to be better prepared to help your jungler, and that's also just auto-attacking the wave and getting priority. You had absolutely no wave priority this entire laning phase. And that is partially because of you, but also it's just the way that the lane went. You also need to stop holding your abilities in team fights. That time that you had the TP gank, and I told you that this whole fight over here in your jungle was because of follow-up, because of this fight in your lane. It's because you held all of your abilities after the Lucian dashed. And even if the only thing you hit him with was your ult and you warded those bushes, you would have won that fight. It was that simple. But you hold everything and you run away. And you hold your ignite in, I don't know, like, I think I saw you use it like once this game. In an impactful way, at least. You hold your flash, though, and you don't follow up for that kill. You hold all of your abilities, and that's not good. Get some decisiveness. You need to better understand pathing. The Shaco, when he was going to invade, you had a ward over here, and you warded here. If either of these wards were bad, both with different problems. This ward was not going to see anything. This ward was redundant because you were right next to it. And speaking of redundant wards, that entire Baron chain that you had led to your death over here. Everything in this game has a setup. Do you see what I'm saying? This is the setup. Those 3 wards that you had. Those are the biggest things that I've noticed. And also, keep pink wards on you. I'm sure you hear that a lot. That's easy advice. But the reason everyone says that is because it's easy, and it's so fucking good. Buy pink wards as support. Buy pink wards as every fucking role in this game. But you know what? If other people don't buy pink wards, buy one for them, basically. So you move your pink ward around to control objectives. Alright, that's the end of this review. I hope some of that was helpful. And yeah, good luck. Where's that?